This is the Washington Times front page for Veterans Day, Thursday, November 11th, 2021. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo, and a thank you to all those who have served our country. Consumer prices hit a 31-year high in October, a worse-than-expected report on inflation that's put President Biden on the defensive. The Labor Department announced a consumer price index, which monitors the cost of goods such as gasoline and groceries, rose 6.2% in October compared with last October. That's the largest increase since December of 1990 and greater than the Dow Jones estimate of 5.9%. Jeff Murdoch and Dave Boyer report the developments further imperil the president's $1.75 trillion social spending bill, which needs the support of all 50 Democratic senators to pass. Biden defended the spending plan and proposed tax increases accompanying it as a way to reduce inflation. With prices of various goods rising during the holiday shopping season, there's a growing sense that a high inflation rate is becoming the new normal. Hundreds of pages of testimony from the investigation into sexual assault accusations against former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo have been released by New York Attorney General Letitia James's office. The transcripts include testimony from Cuomo and 10 complainants, Emily Zanto reports. One New York State employee told investigators that the first time she met the governor, during an event in September 2019, he tapped her backside. She reported the incident to a supervisor, but she said the supervisor did nothing about it. Cuomo, a Democrat, stepped down in August after James published the results of the investigation. The nearly 5-month probe found that Cuomo engaged in unwanted kissing, groping, and hugging, and made inappropriate comments to women, many of whom were his staffers or other state employees. The Biden administration says it fears Russian forces may be on the verge of entering Ukraine to rehash the chaos that resulted in the annexation of Crimea in 2014. Guy Taylor reports the sharp messaging comes days after President Biden dispatched CIA Director William Burns to Russia for talks with officials, in part over the ongoing Russian troop buildup along the Ukrainian border. Russia says it's only responding to a U.S. and NATO buildup of military forces on Russia's western border. U.S. officials have yet to specify how they would respond. Secretary of State Antony Blinken stopped short of saying the administration is prepared to respond with force, but he stressed that any further Russian escalation will be of great concern to the United States. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. If you don't have access to the Times yet, you can visit WashingtonTimes.com/George and get 25% off your annual subscription. Stephen Dinan reports lawmakers and legal experts are looking at payments the government has made historically as the Biden administration considers cutting $450,000 checks to compensate illegal immigrants who say they suffered emotional trauma from family separations at the southern U.S. border with Mexico. Members of Congress who die in office customarily have a year's salary, currently $174,000, as a payout to their survivors. Families of U.S. service members who die on active duty get a $100,000 death gratuity, and Japanese Americans that were forced out of their homes and into internment camps during World War II collected $20,000 payments 4 decades later. That's worth about $46,000 in today's dollars. One legal expert characterized $450,000 as quite generous compared with other payouts that courts have authorized. But figuring out the proper comparison is fraught with complications. And finally, Bill Gertz reports 7 House Republicans want the U.S. Agency for Global Media to explain why its director rehired a friend at Voice of America who was slated to be dismissed for improper activities. House Foreign Affairs Committee ranking member Michael McCaul and 6 other lawmakers complained in a letter to the agency's acting director, Kelu Chao, that it's stonewalling requests for information about the matter. According to VOA officials and documents, Satara Sieg was slated for dismissal in 2020 after an internal investigation revealed accusations that she falsified her academic credentials and abused government funds. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Washington Times. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.